In Lesson 2 of Section 1 in Unit 6, we begin the process of solving linear equations. The first method we will use to do this is called systematic trial. So first of all, what does it mean to solve an equation? Well, what we're doing is finding the specific value or values for the variable that make the equation true. In grade 7, our equations will only have one solution. Only one value will exist to satisfy the equation. And how can we determine this value? One method, systematic trial, also known as guess and check, trial and error. So what we're doing here is essentially choosing a value to substitute for the variable. We evaluate it using order of operations to see if it works. Does it give us the answer that we need? If it works, great, you're done. But if you choose a value that does not work, we have to strategically choose another value depending on the result of the first chosen value. Let's solve a few equations using systematic trial. In A, we have n plus 4 equals 12. So if I say, well, I don't know what n is, I'm going to try something. I'm going to guess a number to see if it works. That's essentially what we're doing with systematic trial. So I'm going to say, well, what if n equals 5? So I'm going to let n equal 5. I take that n value that I've decided to sub in. I put it in place of n, so I get 5 plus 4. I'm not going to say it equals 12 because I don't know if it does or not. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Well, when I work out 5 plus 4, I get 9. Well, that's certainly not equal to 12. And what that tells me is that 5 is incorrect. That is not the solution to this particular equation. What I notice, though, is that 9 is less than what I need. I need a 12, so the value that I'm going to choose for n next is going to be bigger than 5. So I'm going to say, well, what if n is 7? Let n equal 7. When I use 7 in place of n, I write down 7 plus 4. 7 plus 4 equals 11. Not quite. That's not equal to 12, so that tells me that 7 is incorrect. But I notice this time I'm much closer to 12 than what I was before. For my next n value, I'm going to say let n equal 8. I go 8 plus 4. 8 plus 4 equals 12. I know now that I figured out the correct value for n. So I say, therefore, recall those 3 dots, therefore, n equals 8. So that's your solution. That's your answer. For the first example, you may be saying, I knew that answer right away. Why can't I just write it down? Well, if the question says solve it by systematic trial, then you should provide a couple of substitutions to show what's incorrect, and then you can show your correct answer. I know it may seem kind of unnecessary, but you need to show that you understand the process. And sometimes the equations, you may not be able to do it in your head as quickly. Maybe even for B here, 3m subtract 2 equals 7. I'm going to choose a value for m, and I'm going to see if it works. So I'm going to choose m equal 5. Let's see. So I have 3. In place of the m, I put 5, and I'm using my brackets here to indicate multiplication. So 3 times 5 subtract 2. Order of operations says I need to do my multiplication first. 3 times 5 is 15. Subtract 2, and I get 13. Well, what is it that I'm supposed to get? Well, it's supposed to equal 7. 13 does not equal 7. M equals 5, not my solution. 13 is bigger than what I need, so this time I'm going to choose a value that's less than 5. So what if I pick 2? Okay, let m equal 2. 3 times in place of the m I put 2, subtract 2. Order of operations, 3 times 2 is 6. 6 subtract 2 is 4. Not equal to 7, which is what I need. But this time, what I end up with is less than 7. M equals 2 doesn't work. It's a little bit less than what I need, so yeah, let's try m equal to 3. So 3 times, in place of the m, I put my 3. 3 times 3, subtract 2. 3 times 3 is 9. And 9 subtract 2 is 7, which is exactly what I needed. So what have we just figured out? We just figured out the value for m. M must equal 3. How about a little word problem? Write an equation for the statement, then we're going to solve by systematic trial. The statement, 51 subtracted by a number is 46. The first thing I need to do is introduce a variable. And when you introduce a variable, whether it's math or sciences, you should always indicate what that variable represents. So for me, I'm going to say let x equal number to be found. Now I need to write an equation. 51 subtracted by a number is 46. 51 subtracted by a number is 46. Now we've been asked to solve this equation by systematic trial. For my first value of x that I'm going to try, I'm going to say, well, what if x is 10? 51 subtract 10 gives me 41. That does not equal 46. Let's try x equals 5. So x equals 10 did not work. X equals 5. 51 subtract 5 does indeed give me 46. That works. Therefore, the number is 5. And to conclude this video, let's look at one more word problem. So it says Muhammad worked at Jumping Jack's coffee shop during the weekend and was paid $12 per hour. For his stellar customer service, he was given a bonus of $25. How many hours did Muhammad work if he was paid a total of $205? We're going to set up here an equation that we're going to solve using systematic trial because this is the lesson that we're in. But before we do any of that, we have to introduce a variable. So I'm going to say let n equal, now what are we trying to find? Well, if I look at my question, it says how many hours did Muhammad work? I'm going to let n equal number of hours Muhammad worked. Variable introduced. Now I need my equation. He was paid $12 an hour. So if I take 12 and multiply by the number of hours that he worked, 12n, that will certainly give me a portion of his paycheck. But remember, he also was given a bonus of $25. So I need to add that on. Good for him for giving good customer service. We know that the total that he received is $205. So there's our equation. 12n, or 12 times the number of hours worked, plus his bonus, $25, will give a total of $205. Solve using systematic trial. What value will we try for n? Let's try n equals 10. Let's say he worked 10 hours. 12 times 10 plus 25. And we're going to see what that equals. If it equals 205, perfect, we're done. 12 times 10, 120. Add on the 25, and that gives us $145. Well, that's not equal to 205, so n equals 10 is not the number of hours that he worked. And based on our answer here of 145, we should note that he definitely worked more hours because his total pay is higher than 145. Let's say n equals 15. So let's try that. 12 times 15 plus 25. 12 times 15 will give us 180. Add on the $25 bonus, 205. That's what Muhammad made. So therefore, Muhammad worked 15 hours. And now I'd like you to proceed to the activities for Lesson 2.